What's up developers, it's Dari here and welcome back to a new video where we're going to talk about broadcasting in Laravel with some pretty cool new tools such as Pusher and Laravel Echo. Quick pause, do you want to support the channel and want me to continue on pushing content? Well, you can support the channel through Patreon right now. You will also get benefits such as a private Discord group where everyone is helping each other out with their coding issues. So if you are interested to join, the link will be in the description down below. In the previous video, we've touched on events in Laravel, and with that, broadcasting is a pretty hot topic. Broadcasting events happen over something which is called a WebSocket, and I'll try my best to explain in simple terms what WebSocket is. You can see it as a protocol popularized by Pusher, which makes it very simple to communicate between devices. What we have done up until this point was sending HTTP requests, which is pretty alright, but in some cases you do want to provide real-time communication between devices. Think about Facebook Messenger or Instagram Messenger, or actually any type of web messenger. If you do receive a message from one of your friends or someone that you're actually talking to, the page isn't refreshing when you receive a message, right? You might think that this is being done with an AJAX request. But in most cases, it's actually not, since it's being done with a WebSocket. Don't get me wrong, you can obviously do it with an AJAX request as well, but why should you do it if you got broadcasting? It feels like I've been saying it in the last 20 or so videos that it's very easy to use WebSockets, since Laravel has a built-in set of tools that you can use in order to broadcast your event to a WebSocket server. The only thing that you just need to do is to change up some settings. Let's start off by changing our driver. Inside the config folder in the root of our application, you'll find a file called broadcasting.php. Let's open it. Now, all files inside the config folder make use of a default driver, as you could see right here. It's either being grabbed from the .env file, or it has a default value, which in the case of the broadcaster has been set to null. If we scroll down, you'll see a connections part right here, where you can choose between different drivers for broadcasting. You have the option to choose for Pusher, Ably, Redis, we have the log file, and we have null, which basically means nothing. I must admit that using the log driver is pretty cool to use when you want to log and debug your broadcast. When you want to make use of broadcasting, you do need to pull in a composer package called Pusher. So let's do that as well. Let's open the terminal. Alright, and inside our Laravel broadcasting folder, let's run composer require pusher /pusher-php-server. Hit enter. This might take a second. Alright, it's already done. Now to double check it, let's open our composer.log file. Let's press Command F or Control F and search for Pusher. Let me close off this error message right here. Alright, let's hit true. And right here, you can see that Pusher has been pulled in with a version of 7.0.1, followed with the source. But that's not something we need right now. Today's video is brought to you by Cloudways, a managed hosting platform for your applications. Cloudways has enabled businesses to scale and reach new milestones instead of worrying about server hassles. With reliable 24/7 support, Cloudways offers complete peace of mind from server-level nightmares. Furthermore, its superior tools and works enhance your productivity so you can focus on creating incredible experiences with your applications. It's a fast managed solution for agencies, SMBs, and e-commerce businesses. What I personally like about Cloudways is their slogan, moving dreams forward. Now that we've made sure that we are using Pusher in this particular project, it's time to set up our .env credentials to interact with Pusher. We do need to set up an account on the official website of Pusher, so let's navigate to the browser. Let's open a new tab and go to pusher.com. Hit enter. I want you to sign in, create an account, pause the video, and I'll see you back when it's done. Once you have set up your account, you have the option to choose between two sandbox plans. The first one is called Channels, and the second one is called Beams. Let's click on the Get Start button of the Channels part. Let me actually zoom in here as well. Alright. So what we need to do is to create a new application right here. So let's start off by the name. Let's get rid of it. Let's give it a name of Laravel-broadcasting. Whoops, that's a typo. Alright. Now select a cluster to a location that's near to you. Since I'm living in the Netherlands, my cluster will be EU. Now you can choose your technology stack, but it's optional. Let's just click on Vue.js, and for the backend, we're obviously working with Laravel. And that's it, create app. This will navigate you back to the dashboard where you have a menu on the left side right here. And inside the menu, let's click on app keys. Right here, you will find 4 values that you need to paste inside your .env file to make sure that you can interact with your pusher. So let's start off by copying the app ID. Let's navigate to Visual Studio Code. Let's open the .env file, scroll to the bottom, and right here, you'll see 4 environment variables that have no values. So let's paste the values here one by one. Let's paste the ID, go back, copy the key, paste it in pusher underscore app underscore key. Let's do the same thing for the secret. And the cluster is EU. Now that we're here, we also need to change our environment variable of broadcast driver right here. Let's change it to pusher. We could also change it in the broadcasting.php file, but I think that this is the right place to change that up. Now that we have pretty much set up everything that we need, it's time for a new section where we are going to broadcast an event. Like I said before, broadcasting works with events. So let's create a new event inside the CLI. Let's perform the PHP artisan make me an event called message notification. Hit enter. If we open the app folder, let me close off the config folder actually, you'll see a new folder called events with a new file called message notification. You'll see that the Illuminate contracts broadcasting should broadcast has a lighter color than the dispatchable, serializes models, private channel, interacts with sockets, and that actually means that it's not being used. What this actually will do is interact with the broadcast on method that we have at the bottom, right here, that will then return an array, string, or channel object for us with a private WebSocket channel. In order to make use of the, should broadcast class, which is actually an interface, you need to add it inside the class. Our class has a name of message notification, but we're going to implement the should broadcast interface. Let's scroll down and right below our use statements, let's add a property right here called public variable message. If you want to use the public message inside your class, you need to add it inside the constructor. So let's pass it in as a param. And inside our constructor, let's say that this message is equal to the property. Now the real magic happens in the broadcast on method that we have right here. We're going to broadcast one channel with a message. And you'll see by default, a private channel is being called right here, which is a method. You have the option to choose between 3 options, and I think that I should mention them before we continue on. You have a public channel where any type of user can subscribe whether they are authenticated or not. You have a private channel, but it requires the end user's JavaScript to authenticate in order to join the channel. And you also have a presence channel, which is pretty much the same as a private channel, but it allows messages to be passed through. What I want to do in this video is to use a public channel object syntax, since we're not going to use authentication right here. You can also choose a string syntax, but you do need to return an array since your event will serialize it as a JSON. So what we can do is replace private channel to channel. Essentially what a channel will do is pinging your application to learn whether the current user that is logged in or not is authorized. At the moment, we have a public channel, so we have no authorization. So we need to change the channel name to something that is related to the class or to the action that we're going to do. So let's rename channel-name to notification, because we're going to notify someone with a message. Before this even works, we need to change up some things inside the app.php file with Laravel. Before this even works, we need to change up some settings inside the app.php file that we got inside our config folder. So let's open it. And let me actually make the terminal a little bit smaller. All right. With Laravel, you have a list of server providers that will be automatically loaded, then a request will be done of your application. Laravel will comment out the broadcast server event. So what we need to do is to uncomment it in this file. So let's scroll down to the, where is it? Provider section right here. And if we scroll to the bottom, you'll see the broadcast service provider class has been commented out. So let's uncomment it. Let's save it and let's close it off. And right now it's time to move it a step further by installing Laravel Echo. And what Laravel Echo essentially is an advanced framework feature with a JavaScript package that takes advantage of those features and drastically reduces the amount of code that you need to write. It's also a very common package when it comes to broadcasting. Now you can't use it right off the bat because you need to pull it in through the CLI, which will then add it inside the package.json file. So inside the CLI, let's perform npm install pusher-js space laravel-echo, and we're going to pull it in save mode. So /save. This might take a second, but it will be done shortly. So pause the video. With us adding this inside the package.json file, it's pretty much assuming that we're compiling the app.js file with Laravel Mix. And it actually does. So let me quickly show it to you. If we scroll down inside the root of our application and go to the webpack.mix.js file, you'll see that on the first line, a constant called mix is being made, which requires Laravel Mix. And at the bottom, right here, you can see that the resources /js/app.js and the CSS file are both being compiled to the public folder right here. What we need to do right now is to add two new routes inside our web.php file. One which will fire the event, and the second one that will listen to the event and do something with it. So let's open our resources folder, routes folder, web.php file, scroll down, and right below our first route, create a new one. So let's define a route, : get. It has an endpoint of, in single quotes, /event. Instead of passing in a controller, we're going to return a function. So inside the function, we do need to call the event method to call the event class that we have. What we want to do right here is to call a new message notification. Inside the parentheses, we need to pass in the message that will communicate with the constructor of our event. So let's say that this is our first broadcast message. Now the second route that we're going to create will be with a view. So right here, let's create a new one. So route : get with the endpoint of /listen, comma, function, because we're only going to return a view and it's unnecessary to create a controller for that. So what we're going to do is to return a view called listen. Now we obviously need to create the view since we don't have it at the moment. So let's do it right now. Let's open the resources folder, views folder, and create a new file called listen.blade.php. Write down doc and hit tab. All right. Whenever you want to use Laravel Echo, you need to keep in mind that you need to have a CSRF token for protection. I expect that we all know how to use a CSRF token inside a form, but it's a little bit different when it comes up to your entire file, since we're going to use it inside the meta tag of our HTML template. So right below our last meta tag, let's create a new one. Let's give it a name of CSRF-token. It has a content of Laravel snippets, and we're going to call the CSRF_token method. We're also going to compile our app.jas file inside our HTML template. So right above our closing body tag, let's create a script tag with a source of the asset method, and we're going to call the js/app.js file. Now the next step is to load Laravel Echo and Pusher as a library inside our JS file. This will then allow us to open the WebSocket connection to Pusher. If we open our resources folder, which we already have open, our JS file, you'll see two JavaScript files. The first one is app.js and the second one is bootstrap.js. If we open the bootstrap.js file and scroll to the bottom, you'll see a section right here which is commented out. So let's uncomment it for a second. Right here, you can see that we're importing Echo from the Laravel-echo file, which is a file inside the node_modules folder. Then it's pulling in Pusher as a window, which is requiring the pusher-js file. What the pusher-js file will do is making sure that Echo provides Pusher as our broadcast adapter. Then on the line below, we're saying that a new Echo object needs to be created with a broadcaster of Pusher. It has a key, which is being grabbed from the .env file called mix pusher app key, which is alright, the cluster as well. The force TLC is true, and we also need to add a encryption. Well, we don't need to add the encryption, but we need to set it to true. So let's say encryption is true. In Pusher, we said that we want to work with Vue as our front-end component. So inside the CLI, let's say composer require Laravel-Vue. And then we can run PHP artisan UI Vue to pull in Vue. Alright. Now if we open the app.js file, scroll down to the bottom, you'll see that a constant called app is being made with a new view, and it's expecting an ID of app inside the listen.blade.php file. Let's hit enter. And what we want to do is to say that we want to create something. So let's call the created method and add a set of curly braces. Write down echo dot, which provides a view methods that we can use for subscribing. At the moment, we're using a public channel inside our event. So let's write down channel right here, which is also a method, and let's add a semicolon. Inside our channel method, we can access the public data that has been passed along with our event. So remember, we called it, in single quotes, notification. Let's open our message notification for a second, right here. We're returning a new channel called notification, and we're grabbing it in the app.js file. Now, right after our channel method, let's hit enter, tab, and add a dot. Add a listen method, because we need to define the event class as well. So let's say in single quotes, message notification. So it will listen to the message notification class, and it will search for a channel called notification. Now, right after our string, let's add a comma, parentheses E, which is a callback, and then add a pointer for a class, curly braces. And inside the class, we're basically going to say alert, welp, this showed up without a refresh. And we need to end it off with a semicolon as well. It is important that we compile our .js files every single time we make changes. This can be done in the CLI by either performing, let me make it bigger, npm run dev, but this will compile it once. And the best way is to run npm run watch, which will automatically compile it when changes are being made. Oops, we forgot to install npm, so let's say npm install. This might take a second, but I don't think that it will take long. Couple warnings, which is alright. Alright, now let's run npm run watch. Alright, it's done. There's one very easy step left before we can test it out in the browser. We need to make sure that we register our channel that we want to broadcast to. Let's open the routes folder again, which is again already open. Open the channels.php file, scroll down. Now let's change up our broadcast channel right here. Inside the single quotes of our channel, let's call notification. We don't have params inside the function, so let's remove it and let's only return a true right here. Let's save it. Let me go to the browser and let me actually change up my screen real quick. Let me put two screens next to each other. All right. On the left screen, let's set the endpoint to /event, copy it, which we only need to refresh to get a response in the /listen. So let's make this screen actually a little bit smaller. On the right panel, let's paste our URL and let's change the endpoint to listen. I forgot to save the file, so let me go back to Visual Studio Code. Let me actually save all files to make sure that everything's all right. Go back to Brave, refresh our endpoint. Let's inspect the page and let's go to the console. It's actually saying that it can't find ID app, so let's add that inside our listen.blade. Inside the body, let's create a div with a ID of app. Save it, go back to Brave, refresh it, and our warning is gone. Let's actually open Pusher as well. Oh, why did I close that off? We need it as well. Let me sign in. Let's open Laravel-broadcasting. Click on the drop-down because we need to go to the debug console, which is empty at the moment. Let's go back to our /listen endpoint. All right. Now, if we refresh our /event endpoint, you'll see that we received a API message inside our pusher, and we also have a red icon right here on our favicon. If we open it, you'll see that the message that has been passed through inside our event, this is our first broadcast message, has been printed out. If we open our local host, you'll see that, well, this showed up without a refresh has been printed out as well. So let's do it one more time. Refresh our /event, and we're getting a message right here. And the best possible way to showcase this is by changing up our alert to a console.log. Save it, navigate back to Brave, refresh first our /listen. All right, now let's refresh our /event. And in the console log, you'll see a message that has been showed up without a refresh. Now, if we do it one more time, you will see a 2, one more time, and one more time. While I was preparing this video, I ran into some issues, and that was mostly with the config and the cache clearing while I was trying to put JavaScript on the screen. So be aware that if you run into an issue, to clear your cache or config. I didn't run into the issue when I was recording the video, but I did prior to it. Now, that was it for this video. This was a pretty simple example of what you can actually achieve with broadcasting. But the most important thing that you need to know is that this is a pretty interesting way to create a live chat server where two persons are talking to each other. This was it for this video. If you do like my content and you want to see more, leave this video a thumbs up. And if you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button.